Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to Q&A, the show where I take your questions from YouTube and Twitter and answer them here in video format. A lot of interesting questions to get into, and we're going to start with this question from Mason, who says, do you think J.O.K will have trouble tackling bigger players like running backs and tight ends? Do you also see a Pro Bowl for him in his first 4 years? I would hope so, right? If you're drafting a linebacker within the first 2 rounds, you would hope that that's the result, or kind of expect that to be the result on some level, especially a prospect the caliber of J.O.K. Now, when it comes to concerns of his size, it reminds me of like the Devonta Smith thing, or how people get with a lot of other draft prospects, where we get so caught up in trying to project a transition that we never really ask ourselves, was this a problem for this player when he went against NFL caliber players in college? And should we expect it to be one? So often we get stuck in the semantics. Oh, he's not X amount height or X amount weight, so he might not be able to tackle these players. But the proof's in the pudding, right? When he went against Clemson, he was able to tackle Travis Etienne. He was able to tackle multiple, NFL caliber players in his time at Notre Dame. So I have no reason to believe that that's going to be an issue in the NFL. And if it is, it's something that you'll have to address. And it's something that I'm not going to feel comfortable projecting on him until I see evidence of it, because quite frankly, his college career has shown zero evidence that he wouldn't be anything but an excellent tackler. So yeah, I think a lot has been made of his size. But again, you have to ask yourself, was his size really affecting him in college? And did it affect him when he went against NFL-type competition to the point to where you should be concerned? If there were no red flags raised there, then I'd see no reason to be concerned about it. The next question comes from Jonah, who says, I remember hearing Ray Lewis talk about how a group of offensive linemen need time to gel. How do you think an additional year with Stefanski will help and affect the linemen's chemistry, and how will that transition to offensive potential? It's kind of hard to imagine that they will play better than they did last year, because they were absurdly good last year, right? Now, there is always the potential that they could be better, and that's most certainly there. I don't know if they can improve in the run game. And look, Ray Lewis knows what he's talking about, obviously. I don't think it's all kind of a winner-take-all type of take. And what I mean by that is that take absolutely accounts 100% of the time. Sometimes some guys just jail earlier than others. And especially when the only part that changed that wasn't on the team the year previous, well, 2 parts that changed that weren't on the team the year previous were the 2 tackles, and those are the most easy to integrate. So I don't know if they're going to make a huge leap compared to what they did last year. They might get a little bit better in pass blocking. Maybe you're more balanced with where you can run block, as opposed to last year, because Jedrick wasn't the strongest run blocker in the world. He wasn't poor, but he wasn't the strongest. So maybe that changes things a little bit, but I wouldn't go into this expecting, since they had an extra year, that this offensive line is going to be drastically better. I'm just hoping that they're just as good as they are last year. Now, if they are better as a pass blocking unit, obviously it's going to have its effect when it comes to the passing game. Maybe you can get the ball to Odell Beckham down the field more often, and you can be more explosive and things like that. But you really don't want to rely on those things, because there will be a game, and it will most certainly be in the playoffs, where your offensive line isn't going to be playing up to that standard, and you don't want to be relying on, 7-yard drops or anything like that. So, it's a little give and take there. The next question comes from Ultimate Sports TV, who says, who's a better bet to win Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year for the Cleveland Browns, J.O.K. or Greg Newsome? J.O.K. because it's just more common that a rookie linebacker can win that award versus a corner. Now, Greg Newsome, if he wins that job, he'll have a lot of opportunity, because he will be the guy opposite of Denzel Ward, and people are going to prefer to go at him. So he can have a huge year and definitely win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I just think J.O.K., look, he was one of my top 10 prospects in the entire draft last year. I just think he's a better prospect than Greg Newsome is, despite being drafted after him. The next question comes from Maurice Parker, who says, why does this offseason feel like it's the longest we've ever had? Partly in such because it kind of is the longest that we've ever had. When you talk about like how uncertain things were and how, we're kind of settling back into a normal, but things are still a little bit weird and up in the air. And I do think there was a little bit of an extra time there between the start of the offseason last year and the end of it, as compared to this year. But also it's just because the Browns are going to be good. Also, it's because the Browns went 11-5 last year, to be honest with you, right? Like, if the Browns stunk last year, we'd be in regular offseason mode. But since the Browns are somebody that we're anticipating to seeing, well, that makes it a little bit longer, right? It's like Christmas Day when you're expecting to get some good gifts. That sleep takes forever versus, when you're an adult and you don't expect to get anything, pretty easy to sleep for Christmas. Next question comes from Matt, who says, hey, Q, which of the Browns' new defensive pieces is going to be the most important for success of the defense this season? I would say a combination of Troy Hill and John Johnson. I think those two, that addition is going to be vital to this team's ability to be versatile, to this team's ability to just flat cover, and this team's ability to do a ton of things this year. So if I had to pick a guy or two, it would be that. Obviously, Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney are going to be important because they're going to be the sack guys, right? So if Myles Garrett gets like 30 sacks this year, something crazy like that, obviously, it's going to be the most important thing going on the defense, and obviously Myles would have won Defensive Player of the Year. Jadeveon is going to be important when it comes to applying pressure consistently and being able to give Myles a break so he can be Myles Garrett at the end of the season finally. But I really think that it's going to come down to Troy Hill and John Johnson. And Troy Hill, because if something goes wrong with Greedy or Greg Newsome, you can put Troy Hill in that position and you'll be fine. You won't be bleeding on defense. And John Johnson, because I do think he's going to play some linebacker, and I think he's going to be vital to the plan to stop Lamar Jackson when that day comes. Next question comes from Baker for President, who says, which of these three games would you say will be the most crucial to the Browns' success? I don't know if it's 3 games. I know the stretch is going to be the most important stretch for the Browns season. That's going to be the Baltimore bye week Baltimore situation. That's going to be the most important 3-week stretch for this team. And it's going to be the most important stretch for this franchise in quite a while. This is going to be more than likely the division's going to be on the line. This is going to be a home playoff game on the line. This is going to be your playoff hopes on the line. This is going to be a insanely important stretch of 3 games for the Cleveland Browns. You have to beat Baltimore. You absolutely have to beat Baltimore. And I think Baltimore is going to be good this year. So if you want to win the division, you might have to beat them twice. That might just be what it takes. So it's going to be vital. Those 3 weeks, absolutely vital. I cannot stress enough how much everything is on the line in those 3 weeks. If the Browns get swept by Baltimore, they won't have a home playoff game. They might not get a bye. They might not get whatever here. And that's going to cost them big time down the line when you talk about a team trying to win the Super Bowl. If they win those games, or if they win or split and they can win the division with a split, you're talking about home playoff game. You're talking about home field multiple weeks. Like the difference between performing in those 3 weeks and not performing in those 3 weeks is massive, no matter how you look at the season and how things project out. The next question comes from Noah, who says, did I watch the new Jarvis Landry video, and what are my thoughts on the interaction between Baker and Bernie? I always thought it was cool for Baker to show respect like that he did in the locker room before the softball game. Yeah, I think it was cool. I saw the video. I've been following Jarvis Landry's burgeoning YouTube career, as some would say. And I think he has a really good editor. I really like the content they put out there. I recommend it. If you're a hardcore Browns fan, it's going to be something you're going to enjoy. As far as the respect of Bernie Kosar goes, it's always great to see, the respect go to Bernie. Bernie played in an era where it just wasn't like it was today. So I'm always down for showing, the old guards at the NFL some respect and some love. And Baker, shows me he knows what he's doing and he knows his role and he knows what he means to the city, right? Even if he doesn't really have like the most respect in the world for Bernie Kosar, or if he does, like, I don't know where he genuinely is on that. There's no reason to question if he's genuine. Let me make that clear. I'm just saying this to make a point. It just shows that he knows, hey, look, Bernie means a lot to this city. I hope to mean as much as he does to this city. So I'm going to make sure that I show all the respect in the world to him. I mean, we've had multiple quarterbacks here who did not know the history of the city, who did not know the history of the franchise, and did not know what this team meant to this city. And it looks like, from what you could tell from the outside looking in, that Baker has taken that time to really understand the connection between this city, this football team, and its players and its history, and why it was so important that they held on to it even when the team moved in 95. So that's all good signs. This means he really grasps the position he's in. Hopefully he can build his own legacy and be somebody in 20 years. We're talking about, hey, ain't it great that this quarterback showed love to Baker, right? The next question, I believe this is the last question of the day, comes from Billy Moss, who says, do you think there will be fans at training camp? Also, do you think there will be any surprises at wide receiver? I don't think there will be surprises at wide receiver. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones might flash a little bit more often than he did last year, and I think he did flash quite a lot last year. So that's the only really surprise I'm going to go there. Maybe you could say that Rashard Higgins might lead the wide receiving room in touchdowns, but probably be like third or fourth in receiving yards. I think that's also a possibility. The next thing is, will there be fans at training camp? I'm pretty sure there's going to be fans at training camp. I have no sources, by the way. Don't take this as me reporting anything. Just from reading the tea leaves, how the team's moving, I would be fairly certain that they're going to probably put out and have fans at camps. Other teams are having fans at camps. I don't see why the Browns wouldn't. But that's it for this week's questions. Again, guys, thank you guys for asking these questions. Have a great day and have a good night.